Hello, and welcome into the Shoujo-Verse. I'm your host today, Bees, and I'm here with Summosa and Azayan, and today we're going to talk about Yona of the Dawn, or Akatsuki no Yona. A really great series.
Yay!
We all love it. But first, how's everyone doing? How you holding up? Aza?
Well, I started looking at wedding venues.
Ooh.
And that's quite a chore.
Oh no.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't, list the price anywhere. They're just contact us for more info. I was like, just put a price so I can eliminate you or ask for more info.
Oh.
I don't know why that's so hard.
People are so annoying about, prices. Just be straight up about it.
Please. And there's an option that's what method of contact do you prefer? Email, call, text. And I check text. And then they call me and I'm like, I checked text. I'm a millennial. I don't want to speak on the phone.
No, literally, even for job interviews, you select email and they'll still call you.
Whatever. So that journey has begun.
The journey of wedding planning.
You're looking at a winner. Oh, yes.
Honestly, at this point, it just depends on what I can find, because everybody has postponed their wedding until now. So now everybody's like, okay, find a time to finally actually do it. And so I think it's going to be really hard to find an opening next year at all. So I might just have to take whatever is there. But I'm not going to do it in the summer. I'm not going to do in the dead of summer.
It'll be so hot.
Be horrific. Yeah, no way.
God, it's
spring or winter, I think.
Hopefully you'll find the perfect place.
Anyway, so that's what I'm up to. What about you guys?
I'm doing nothing. Just chilling. It's normal.
You're looking for a job, though.
Yeah, that's my difference. Now I'm getting interviewed and it's kind of stressful.
looking for a job sucks.
And especially in this economy.
You learned a lot already, though, about what they want in an interview.
I learned about who not to apply to. That's one thing I've learned. But it's been pretty nice. I mean, it's kind of they ask straightforward questions. There was only one interview that threw me off, since they started asking me in detail questions about the science protocols of lab. And I didn't do this in over a year. Please don't ask me this, even though this is what I'll end up doing. Anyway, if anybody knows the science behind why milk is used as a blocking agent in a Western blot analysis, that's what they asked me. And I kind of knew, but didn't really know.
Western blot.
Got lectured about it.
Western blot is always one that I learned about in concept, but I never actually devoted to memory because I was like, I will never do Western blot. So I just knew the bare minimum to get by, and I was right. I'm not going to do Western blot.
What about you, Bees?
Well, other than work, I've been streaming a lot on Twitch. Follow me on Twitch. Twitch.tv/10,000_bees.
You haven't been posting about it in the group chat.
Yeah, I figured people wouldn't want to watch it. It's because it's a Pokemon Nuzlocke is what I'm doing right now. And if you...
Nuzlocke?
Yeah, this is what I expected. No one knows what a Nuzlocke is. It's basically a challenge to make Pokemon harder. Where you can only catch one Pokemon per route. You have to nickname your Pokemon to get attached. If your Pokemon faint in battle, they're dead forever. And you can't use them anymore.
This is cruel.
And then I play with additional rules that I can't use items in battle, and I can't overlevel gym leaders. So, it makes the game a lot harder.
Are you playing Sun and Moon?
No, I'm playing Leaf Green.
Is it how do you it's a separate app you have to install? How does that work?
I am definitely not emulating it. I'm definitely playing it on the Nintendo Game Boy Advance. By Nintendo. I would never, ever emulate a Nintendo game on the computer.
How dare you suggest that, Sumo? Bees is a good and pure girl.
Oh, I'm sorry. How do you stream them? Is there a little plugin thing you can use?
Duh. worry about it.
Okay.
I would never do
course,
anything illegal.
I believe in you, bees.
Thank you. Follow me on Twitch. By the time this is posted, I'll definitely be done with the Nuzlocke. Hopefully I've won. I'm close. I'm about to fight the 8th gym leader.
But she plays a lot of different games. We enjoyed watching her play some horror games, so definitely follow her.
Yes, I'm playing more horror games too.
Speaking of Twitch, though, I too am on Twitch now, doing a D&D stream for RPG Chronicles. Sunday nights, 6 p.m. PST, 6 p.m. PST to 9 p.m. PST on Sundays. Check us out. We're getting up a YouTube channel soon so that you can watch older episodes and catch yourself up. Anyway, let's start the episode.
Yeah, anyway, let's talk about Yona of the Dawn. We're gonna start by talking about the anime, because there is both the anime, a 24-episode anime with 3 OVAs that aired from October 2014 to March 2015. And there is also a still ongoing manga, which is now at chapter, I think, 211 in Japanese, 31 volumes in English. So we're going to start with the anime, which is probably what most people are familiar with. Does anyone want to summarize?
Summary time. If you have not yet watched this anime, you might be spoiled. So go watch the anime and then come back and join us.
Or even in the manga, if you don't want to be spoiled, why are you here?
Yeah, why are you
You need to leave, sorry. Listen to another episode.
We have many other episodes for you.
But let's go light on spoilers to begin with, summarizing the anime.
Hey guys, if you want to skip on ahead through the summary, just fast forward to 28 minutes into the episode and you'll get right to the review and character analysis and comparisons to other epic series. Also, we just want to note that Summosa was going through a thunderstorm while we recorded this, so you're going to hear a lot of rumbling in the background. So enjoy that ambience, and enjoy our show. Well, so we have our main character, Yona. She is the princess of the kingdom of Koka. And it kind of starts out by showing us that she is a happy, kind of naive, wistful princess. She's very
spoiled,
kind. She's a good person. But yeah, she's a bit spoiled.
Not a bit, a lot.
And
very spoiled.
Naive. Very spoiled. But mostly naive. Like, she just doesn't know a whole lot about the world.
She's also 15 at the beginning.
Yes. And she is in love with her childhood friend, Suwon.
Who is her cousin.
Who is also her cousin. Mm-hmm. Suwon doesn't really seem to show much interest in her. He is a seemingly gentle soul who's kind to everyone. Personally, I never liked him. And also in their trio is Hawk, who is the son of the... No, he's not. He was an orphan, right?
Yes.
Yes, but he was taken in by the leader of the Wind Tribe. And he is quite talented fighter. He's already known as the Thunder Beast at that point, right?
Yes. And I think he's also the general, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he's also pretty young. He's only 2 years older than Yona.
But already a renowned fighter and general of a tribe.
And a hottie.
He's a Leo, I believe. I have no idea what that means. He's 6'2" and weighs 181 pounds.
Damn, that's a fine man. That's a fine man. Soon enough, after kind of setting the stage and learning about all these main actors, Yona's father, the king, is murdered by Suwon. And she walks in on it and does not understand anything that's going on. So obviously her life is thrown into turmoil as she flees the kingdom with Hawk at her side, kind of guiding her. And they are pursued by Suwon. But eventually they make it to safety. And Yona encounters a young boy.
Yoon
Yoon is...
Oh, one of the...
He just lives in the forest.
Like an attendant Yeah, he lives with a priest. He's kind of like an attendant or apprentice, I guess, sort of, to the priest, and he's
Isn't
interested
he like
in
a
medicine.
healer? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's not yet. He's good at it, but he's just kind of a tsoon, and he's very I don't want to say egotistical. Like, he knows he's cute and he knows he's good at everything he does. I'll say that.
At the beginning, he looks down on Yona because she's a princess. I remember that. Let's see. After she meets Yoon... Oh, the priest tells her the story of the first emperor who... He was the dragon, but he became human.
Yes, and long ago,
2,000 years.
at the beginning of the age, he lived and died with the 4 dragons surrounding him, and he was said to be reborn. He would be reborn, and so would the other dragons. So after determining, Yona might not believe it, but after the priest determines that she is probably the Crimson Dragon reborn, they decide to go off on a mission to find the other dragons to help them sort of take back Koka Kingdom.
Right, because even if she doesn't believe that she is the reincarnation of King Hiru, having these really strong people around would sure be a help.
Seeing as all she has is Hawk. I don't know, I feel like Hawk could kind of take back Koka Kingdom by himself.
Yeah, he's really strong is the thing.
Ridiculously
Really
strong.
And I think that might be one, I don't want to say downside, but he's just really, like, unbeatable.
He's very OP.
Yeah, he's really OP.
He's like inhuman. He's like inhumanly strong.
Every time he gets knocked down, it's just because the author lets him. It's definitely like...
It's because he has to, like, protect something, so he's like stand in the way and take the hit so that whoever he's protecting doesn't take the hit.
But he has, like, no specific powers, right? He's just technically a normal guy.
Yeah, he's just one strong dude.
He is, although there is a part of me that still feels like something could be revealed about him. He really is, like, inhumanly strong and sturdy.
For sure. Who knows? There's still a lot to happen.
I don't know, but then General Guntae is also ridiculously strong. Like, he can almost match him in strength, and that guy's just a human. Anyway, so yeah, they set out on their journey. They take Yoon along with them, and he kind of becomes the party mother and takes care, cooks for them, and
Literally.
heals their wounds. And at this point, Yona is starting to come out of this state of being numb from watching her father die and the man that she loves be the one to kill her father. And she started to think, like, I don't want to feel powerless anymore. Like, I want to start to take control of my life. And so she starts to try and take, like, sword lessons from Hawk and learn how to use a bow. And she starts to get back her will to live and her motivation.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, they meet Kija, yeah. So Kija, the white dragon, is like, he feels like his whole life was just for this moment, was to meet the red dragon.
He's very
like,
revered.
Right. His society lives kind of away in the forest, sheltered from the rest of humanity. But then when they find out that she's the red dragon, they're like, oh yeah, come in, meet our white dragon. And he's just like, immediately like smitten with Yona because there's something in their blood that like calls him to serve Yona.
Mm-hmm.
So he like, without any qualms, is like, yes, I'll go with you. This is my purpose in life. So it's like, that was easy. That went pretty well.
And his dragon power manifests in his hand, so he has like a giant dragon claw.
It's actually comically large.
It's a yaoi hand.
Yeah, it's BL proportion hand. It's even bigger than that. Well, it can change in size.
Now the way you explained that with like the blood calling, it reminded me of Fruits Basket a little bit. Actually, a lot of it.
It does. It does. It sounds a lot like Toru, except I think that Yona's way cooler than Toru, but...
True.
But you're right.
But Yona
it's the
is
same
like,
concept.
Is like I already forgot her name. Yes.
Akito.
Yes. Thank you.
That's an interesting comparison that you've drawn there.
Later we can compare them more in depth after the summary. We're still summarizing.
I'm sorry, we're moving along very slowly. So after they pick up Kija, the priest is the one who told them where the white dragon was. And then the white dragon, Kija, was like, oh, I can sense my brother. He's this way. Yeah. So they started to move on towards the next dragon, the blue dragon. Shina is what Yona names him. He doesn't...
Shina is kind of like the complete opposite of Kija, right? He's like kind of he's forcibly isolated. His tribe fears him.
He has the saddest story.
Yeah.
Dragon power manifests in his eyes. He has extraordinarily good eyesight. And in the village where he lives, the people are superstitious about it, and they believe that they force him to wear a mask because they don't want to see his eyes, and they believe that he will bestow like a curse on them if they meet his eyes. So they avoid him. And he grows up with this mindset, living with the previous blue dragon, who, as Shina grows up, the previous dragon starts to weaken and fade, and he's going to die, basically, when Shina fully comes into his power. And he never really received much love or affection, even from the previous blue dragon.
It's like a very shy character.
Incredibly sad story, yeah. So he's grown up, like, hating everything about himself and feeling he's worthless and has no real motivation in life. Now they've come to reside in this cave system, him and his village. And when Yona makes her way in there
was an earthquake, and he got locked in with the villagers, and then they worked together to open it up. Yona promises to him that both of them will get out of darkness, find a place where they can do the things they want. I'm reading the wiki right now. Yona invites him a second time without any hesitation. He accepts. He's just convinced, I guess.
I think basically she gives him a purpose. She's like, I know your life doesn't have any purpose. I will give you a purpose. And so he's like, well, works for me. And they carry on their journey and make their way towards... What is the name of the town where they meet Jeha?
It's a coastal city. He's like a pirate.
Yeah.
Arg.
It's an important city where they discover there is a lot of corruption and young women are going missing. And Yona still thinks of Koka as her kingdom. So she's like, well, I can't just abandon my people while they're suffering like this. Like, I need to find out what's happening to these young girls. So her and Yoon, who dresses up as a girl, decide to basically make themselves bait, and they do end up getting captured, and turns out all these girls are being sold in a human trafficking. She's basically, her and Yoon have been thrown into a cell, I guess, basically in the bottom of a ship with a bunch of other girls, and all the girls have like lost heart. They're like, we're doomed. It's the end for us. Whatever happens to us, we can't stop it. And sort of calling on the blood of the Crimson Dragon, Yona is able to give them hope and make them think there is a way out of this. We can get out of this if we work together. So they concoct a plan to like fool the guards so they can escape. And Yona ends up like really embodying the Crimson Dragon in this glare that she gives the guard, and it like scares him. He's like, I can't even move. Like, I'm frozen. Who is this girl? And that's when we first get the hint that she really is the Crimson Dragon, and there's more to her than meets the eye. And they do eventually escape with the help of the pirate crew that the Green Dragon, Jeha, is a part of. And at first, Jeha also doesn't really want to go with them, but he's kind of a womanizer, easygoing guy, just like go with the flow sort of person. But he decides that it will be interesting to go along with Yona. He's curious, so he joins the party.
Yeah, and his powers manifest in one very strong leg.
Just one scaly dragon leg.
He's like a flamingo.
So he basically can jump to the point where it's like flying, which I think would be the best power to have. Out of the other powers.
I disagree, but okay.
Really? God, I wouldn't want Zeno's power.
I wouldn't either.
I feel so bad for him. He has the saddest backstory.
You're right. I think even Shina's story is not as sad as Zeno's story.
Yeah, and we do get Zeno's story in the OVAs, because I think originally the anime ends after they meet Jeha.
Yeah, I think as they're leaving that kingdom is kind of where it leaves off. And then they're actually in the manga, there's a lot of other stuff that happens before they meet the yellow dragon, Zeno. But in the OVAs, they just kind of skip ahead to Zeno's story.
And it's very sad.
Zeno just
the
pops
OVAs
in.
Spoilers!
The OVAs are really, really hard to find. I had to scrounge around a lot online for them. Maybe they're easier now. When I watched the anime in 2016, I think. God, that was like 5 years ago. Oh my god.
Yeah, I didn't realize the anime was that old.
It was really popular. I'm surprised it didn't get more seasons.
It's very tragic that it didn't.
Yeah, I'm still holding out hope that they'll randomly give us more, but...
They did it with Fruits Basket.
They did it with
I never
Fruits
expected
Basket.
an anime for that one, and then it did get one when I was finishing up the manga.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping maybe when the manga concludes, they'll be like, okay, now we can make the rest of the anime. So anyway, spoilers for when they meet Zeno, the yellow dragon. He is the only dragon that has not been reborn. Turns out, he is the original yellow dragon that was alive way back in the time of the original Crimson Dragon.
That was 2,000 years ago.
Yes. And his power is eternal life. He will heal from any injury, even having his head cut off.
I think his
limbs cut
specific
off.
thing was like being a shield for the red dragon.
Right.
Mm.
But he still feels pain.
So it's such a
yeah.
tragic power.
Yeah. Even if he's starving, he won't die. So he just kind of wastes away through the next 2,000 years and eventually stumbles into the home of a young woman who has an incurable illness. And this woman, at first, is like, get away from me, I'll make you sick. I have to live by myself because I'll make people sick. Was it leprosy she had? What did she have?
Might have been TB or something. Something like
something like
something
that.
very contagious.
Yeah. I think he like goes to... He's kind of touched. Like, for the first time in hundreds of years, he starts to feel something again and thinks, like, I want to save this woman. So he goes to, after, recovering from his own terrible state of starvation, goes to find her some medicine that she wasn't really able to go get herself because of her weakness, and she starts doing better. And doesn't she, like, heal, basically? She's cured?
I think they live together.
I think he finds a cure, or at least a treatment for her, to the point where she can live and grow old, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
And then the most tragic manga panel ever. I think I teared up when I was reading it.
Oh, I definitely cried.
They get married and they live out her years together with Zeno not aging a day. And then he loses her, of course.
I really hope Zeno dies at the end, because that's the least he deserves.
I think this is spoilers for like very recent manga chapters, but I think that is what he wants, is to finally die.
Oh yes, he does.
Which I don't blame him for, I'm gonna be honest. Immortality sounds like a horrible deal.
The worst thing.
Terrible. Yeah. So eventually he does stumble upon the party himself. Rather than them finding him, he finds them.
I think he's
and he doesn't reveal right off the bat that he is the yellow dragon. But they do discover that he is, and He's got a very, like, calm and, I guess, carefree on the surface personality. Like, he just cracks jokes and is very polite. And it seems like he's just kind of this vagabond who doesn't care about anything. But once you learn of his tragic backstory, you understand why he is how he is. And that's where we end in the anime, but we are much, much further along in the manga.
Oh my, I don't even think I could summarize the whole manga. There are so many arcs. So many
Right,
plots.
a lot of stuff happens. Basically, Yona's journey, you know, brings her closer to the dragons, and she grows as a leader and starts taking charge of things, and the dragons look to her, rather than just protecting her, they start looking to her for the plan. Like, what are they going to do? And she really comes into her own as a leader, as someone fit to lead a kingdom. But back home in Koka, her good old cousin Suwon has taken over and claimed that he's the king. And his motivations are very unclear. I sort of suspect myself, maybe he's going the Lelouch route.
Well, his main thing was
If
getting
you're familiar with Code Geass.
Wasn't his thing like he wanted to get revenge for his dad? Since his dad.
That's part of it. Yes, that's part of it. According to him, Yona's father, or rather, his father should have been the king because he was fit for the role, and Yona's father, like, has led Koka Kingdom, has not its downfall, but like has just allowed it to shrink in size and lose power and military might.
He's very, very pacifist. He's a big pacifist, a dad. So, avoiding war, avoids a lot of things.
Like I said, Suwon's motivations are not clear. At first we think it's just revenge, but then as we get more and more backstory about his mother, and we discover that his mother was supposedly a descendant of the Crimson Dragon King, and they are cursed with an illness to where they will die at a very young age, and there's no cure. There's nothing they can do about it.
This is late manga spoilers, by the way. We're
yes.
Volume probably 25?
At this point.
Yeah.
Very recent stuff. And so then we learned that Suwon also has this illness, and he does not have long to live by the time Yona makes her way back to the castle of Koka Kingdom. Not quite by choice. Suwon basically sent out his advisor to bring her back and the dragons by force, thinking, because all these rumors about the dragons have spread across the land and about Yona and how she might actually be the Crimson Dragon King reincarnated. And they're going to war with at least one of the surrounding countries. They want the dragons on their side. He wants to show the might of Koka Kingdom by saying, hey, I've got the dragons, even though he himself does not really believe in the legend. So they get dragged back, and then Yona finds out about his illness, and that's kind of where we are in the current chapter without getting into great detail.
Yeah, we did skip a lot. There was like a bunch of Fire Kingdom stuff. There were other country stuff, Water Tribe, lots of politics. This manga has lots and lots of politics and fighting and talking. But it's also pretty lighthearted. Like, the group is called the Happy Hungry Bunch, right?
Yeah. You're right.
It's a pretty...
I think Zeno coined that name.
It's a pretty, it balances, like, lighthearted comedic panels between heavy stuff pretty well, I would say.
I agree. It's very good storytelling. The only complaint some of us might have is the pacing could be a little faster. But, that would be the only complaint that I would have about this manga. And the thing that I have not mentioned yet is the excellent romance between Yona and Hawk. So Hawk has always had a thing for Yona, and Yona finally starts to notice after she gets over Suwon, and then eventually develops feelings herself. And it's just really well done. Like, I love the moments between her and Hawk who just has, like, totally given up hope. He's like, Yona will never know how I feel. I'm just going to operate under that assumption and continue to be, like, a guardian to her.
It doesn't help that he's always, like, teasing her and stuff.
Right? Hawk is so great, and he's so, like, big and muscular in comparison to little frail Yona. And
it was a good slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
I think in general, the thing about the pacing is because it's slower and we're going so in detail with all of the arcs, you do get to see just how much Yona grows. Like, I reread the first 3 volumes because I have them in physical before we talked about this, and, like, she's changed so much.
Mm-hmm.
And because we get to see her every step away, you can really, like, step back and appreciate that she is now definitely fit to rule. And it's nice to be able to walk in those shoes with her.
It's just very well done. It's very thorough. It's very believable, the way that the characters grow and the choices they make, the relationships they form. Like, you really do get to... She really shows you the character growth of each character. And the politics are good, too. I feel like they're not too complex. Like, they're not too hard to understand. But they're also realistic. There's enough there for, like, this isn't just a romance. There's tons of adventure. There's tons of sorrow in this story, and just people struggling, people overcoming. It's got everything.
And it is a shoujo, so it doesn't go, like, super duper dark, but it goes dark enough.
Yeah, it does touch on stuff like the human trafficking stuff. I think what I can remember is there's some times where they do show, like, the brutality of war, not, like, in its entirety, but they do touch on it and the cost of war in terms of human life.
And the characters are in real danger many times. Like, it's... Even Hawk, you know, like, they could die a lot of times, and it feels like real danger. There's also, like, an arc where they're dealing with drug addiction in a particular kingdom, and, like, essentially, if you put it in modern day terms, like a cartel that has purposely, like, spread this highly addictive drug throughout this kingdom. And, you know, how Yona just kind of travels across the land, like, really doing what a ruler should. Help, like, being there amongst her people and solving the problems.
And because she does that, and because she's the one going around and solving the problems, Suwon, who's now on the throne, is just like, you're showing me up. He's getting shown up.
He truly, like, by the time we get to our current arc, he truly does think of Yona as a threat, and then perhaps now thinks of her as the only person really fit to rule Kokai Kingdom. Especially after he dies, because he gonna die.
Yeah. And I will not lie, I will be a little bit happy. I'm gonna be more than a little bit happy. I mean, he's a good character. The writing for the character is good. I don't like him.
He's definitely not a two-dimensional villain. He's a very fleshed out villain. If we can even call him a villain at this point. Like, I know a lot of people would argue he's not. I'm not saying that I wouldn't argue he's a villain, but
he's an antagonist.
I have a friend who's a big Suwon fan.
Yeah, I think antagonist is the best way to describe him.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of villains sprinkled throughout.
The only complaint I do have, I mean, it's not really a complaint, is that Yona is a little bit OP. Like, everything just eventually works out for her regardless, like how bad a situation is. Just never, like, a serious loss or anything like that. But, like,
I
especially...
would disagree. I mean, she literally begins her journey with the terrible loss of watching her beloved kill her father.
Like, I mean, like, her, like, battles and stuff like that. In terms of, like, fighting. Like, eventually just everything works out. But, like, at the same time, even if, like, you kind of need a main character that is a bit OP, since, like, that'll just make the story go on for further.
Yeah, well, even if it's not usually her actions that make everything work out. It's because she's got these OP dragons with her.
Yeah, the dragons are OP.
That's true.
Which, I mean, given their powers, makes sense. Up until this point, they've all kind of they've all lived in hiding in one way or another, and not really been able to fully utilize their powers. But now that they are, yeah, they're OP.
There was the one arc, this is going to sound bad, but I don't remember the point, but I do remember a building burning down. And I think she tried to save someone and they didn't make it out.
But that's still not the main cast, you know what I mean?
Right, but she wanted to save him and that didn't work out and she had to accept that.
I think there was also a point where all of the dragons were ill because they were too far away from Koka Kingdom.
Yeah, I think...
And apparently they lose their abilities. Not only do they lose their abilities, but they become physically enfeebled.
I think they were like in the
too
Kai
far away
Kingdom.
From the capital.
I think they were in the Kai Empire at the time.
Yeah. So when they're all like down and out, basically she really had to step up and like do everything on her own. So that was also, I think, a great character growth moment for her. Because it was really more about her, like, rather than her physical abilities. It's more about her diplomatic strategy, which obviously a king needs. So, I don't know. She's not entirely dependent on the dragons.
And she has been growing. She hasn't had these diplomatic abilities since day one.
Not at all.
I think I can remember her fumbling a bit.
True.
I see your point, Sumo, but I'm not sure that I feel the same way. I do think that we definitely see her struggle. No, she hasn't suffered another loss, necessarily, like, of a main character, but I think it's still been a very difficult journey for her in terms of, you know, she's still processing the death of her father. She never really got the chance to grieve or process that. Like, she was just immediately had to flee and then was sent off to find the dragons. So by the time she comes back to Suwon, has to, like, now deal with her feelings about Suwon.
Aza, I have a question for you. How would you feel if the author killed off Hawk?
It depends on how they did it, I guess. Yeah, I guess it would depend on how it was done.
What if Hawk died fighting Suwon?
Okay, well, I have to say that I can't envision that happening.
I can't either, but I'm just throwing a theoretical at you because I know you love Hawk. And I know Sumo wants someone else to die, clearly.
Sumo wants someone to die. Suwon's gonna die. It's gonna happen. It would make me angry because it doesn't make any sense. I mean, Suwon is very feeble at this point. He doesn't have any real physical ability to fend off Hawk, so that wouldn't make a lot of sense. I know that he does have, like, this kind of berserk personal guard, though. Like, I guess he could die fighting him, but also, I know that Suwon values Hawk's strength, and he has nothing personal against Hawk, even though Hawk hates Suwon for what he did to Yona. But I think Hawk also knows that killing Suwon is not an option. So I think they're too smart for that to happen.
Yeah.
I think the main loss from, like, the main dragons is gonna be Zeno. I think he's definitely gonna die in some way or fashion.
He will finally die. I think you're right.
I agree.
He'll finally die and he'll be happy. He'll probably die with a smile on his face.
I think he'll die on the battlefield or something similar to that. I don't think he'll just, like, disintegrate into nothing after everything's over. You know what I mean?
I think he'll die saving Yona.
Probably.
As to why, like, his kind of cursed power will be broken? I don't know, but yeah, I think he'll die saving Yona. I think Suwon's not long for this world. He's gonna die within a pretty short amount of time from the current chapter. But I don't know. I still have this, like, kind of Lelouch feeling from Suwon sometimes. Like, he purposely kind of took on the bad guy role in order to, like, bring Koka Kingdom back to glory. Sort of, not glory, but, like, I
think glory is the right word. Like, to bring back Koka to what it used to be, to its, like, best, like, days it ever had. He felt that he was a better king than Yona or the previous king could ever be. So he, like, even despite his, like, poor strength and all of his, like, negative traits, he, like, still wanted, like, he still felt like he wanted to sacrifice himself for the kingdom, basically.
But I don't think he thinks he's a better king than Yona. I think he just feels that he is the one who is capable and willing to do what's necessary for the kingdom. And that's why he inserted himself. Like, also he wanted revenge on Yona's father for various other backstory things that you find out later. But I think he just felt like he was the only one who was willing to do what needed to be done.
I think when this happened, it was on when he killed King Il. Yeah. Yona was her 16th birthday, and she was. I mean, I don't think anyone would argue at that point she was not fit to rule, and he was trying to kill her. Or he was like, "Yeah, kill her. We don't need her around." But now I'm thinking, after he's been like, I need to bring Koka Kingdom up to glory, make it the strongest empire in the world. Did he do that? I know Yona did a lot of work on the ground, pushing back enemy lines and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What has he done? I can't.
No, he's also
remember.
there, like, coincidentally at the same time. Like, I think he's also, like, I remember him being there, like, whenever there's, like, a major battle or something, his people are always there, too.
I remember they ran into each other in the, not Water Tribe, Earth Tribe? It was where they met Green Dragon.
Jeha.
Yes, I have the names in front of me and I still forget them.
I just remember him popping up whenever there's, like, a major battle arc going on, and then they would leave or something, or separate somehow. It wasn't until, like, the current arc where they come back to Kuka.
That's a good point. Like, what has Suwon really done for Koka? I think he's initiated war, basically, with the surrounding countries.
I think that's right, but, like, would he have gotten this far without Yona?
No.
Yona's definitely the one, you know. I think he's been very military focused. Like, he's been just focused on, like, because Koka Kingdom has, like, given up a lot of land under the rule of King Il to the surrounding countries. He's like, I want it back. I want Koka Kingdom to grow again and be the size it used to be. So I think Suwon was just really focused on, like, retaking land rather than the well-being of the land's people. And that's what Yona's been doing, is going around, like, caring for her people and making sure they're living, you know, that they have what they need and they're living in a healthy way.
But Suwon was also visiting each general, like, meeting up with them in their respective kingdom.
Yeah, for military purposes, not really to check up on the people. So, I think when he started all of this, I don't think he was ill. I don't think that the Crimson Dragon illness had hit him yet. And now that he's, you know, he knows he doesn't have long to live and he's seen how Yona's grown, I think he's finally come to understand that, you know, Yona's the one who needs to lead the kingdom, and he really wasn't the best thing for the kingdom.
Fun fact about Suwon. Suwon is like a major city in Korea, or not like a. It's about 40 to it's about 40-ish minutes from central Seoul. There's like a fort there and stuff. Oh, it's the capital of Gyeonggi-do. Okay, yeah, it's about 30 kilometers from Seoul. It's a pretty big city. They have I've been there a couple of times. They have like a big like traditional Korean fort, Korean from, I think it's from the Silla dynasty. Yeah, it's from that time period according to Google. But it used to have a different name. But it was during like we mentioned this before, like we didn't talk about it during the podcast, but like it's Akatsuki no Yona is actually based in Korea.
I don't know.
In each
I don't know if I'd say if it was based in Korea, but I think it's based on.
Based in, as in like the location, like based in like based.
It's inspired by.
It's taking place in Korea.
Well, as you wrote in our document, it's loosely based on the 3 kingdoms of Korea. Period. So you wrote that the Koka kingdom is inspired by the Goguryeo kingdom.
Mm-hmm. Sei is based on Baekje, and Shing is based on the Silla dynasty. Which are all like different.
So
like,
no actual like correspondence with real Korea, but heavily inspired by and based on that time period in Korea.
The map of Akatsuki, like the overall map, is also a peninsula.
Mm-hmm. So I have a question for you guys. Who is your favorite dragon? Or just favorite character?
Shina is my heart. He's the best soft boy. I love him so much.
I agree.
So you guys are Shina fans.
Yeah.
Is there really any other choice?
He's so he's so perfect and small. SMOL small.
And he's also his abilities, they are like terrifying. And I kind of love that.
You like feeling slightly threatened by the power of your man.
You can eat someone's heart just by looking at him.
He's just so.
And what's not to love about that? Holy moly!
That is a thunder.
Yep.
Speaking of the thunder beast. I don't have a favorite dragon. I think.
What?
Well, okay, so I do like Shina best out of the dragons for sure, but he's not my favorite character in the whole show. It has to be Hawk, of course. So is Shina your favorite character as well?
For me, yeah, I prefer him over Hawk and Yona and the other people.
I think my favorite character is Ao.
His squirrel companion. I can't argue with that. I love how when Mei Nyan, who is a very recent character introduction, also has like a little squirrel, and they're like Disney style, like little squirrel companion romance. It's so cute.
So yeah, I think let's kind of wrap this up. So Yona, as we've talked about, covers a lot of politics, has a lot of fight scenes. It's a very
well-rounded.
Yeah, well-rounded, very big series. I think it's a really good transition or introduction to shoujo for a shonen fan. Because of the themes, and it kind of gets you a little bit of that shoujo humor with those the funny panels. And also the art style is very shoujo with the huge eyes. Yona got some big eyes. But I think
definitely has she has a delicate hand when she draws, but it's very detailed.
Yeah, the art is great. I'm looking at the first volume right now. I do think some of the paneling is reminiscent of shonen style paneling, like layouts on a page. Just because there's so many fight scenes, it does draw on shonen a bit there.
And it's not too heavy on the romance. I think the romance is actually rather few and far between. Like, it's very good when it happens, but if that's not your thing, it's definitely not the main aspect of the series. So, I think readers who are not really interested in romance will not find it distracting or overwhelming at all.
Right, so basically, what I'm telling you is to go read it. It will be ending soon, maybe?
Within the next 2 years.
Right, and if you want, if you've been looking for a long series to binge, here you go. You got the anime, if you like it, if you prefer anime, and we got manga if you prefer manga, or both, if you like both. Good luck finding the physicals at this time, because manga shortage.
It's very sad.
End of statement.
It's just, yeah, it's a really great series. As you can see, we hardly had any complaints about it. We mostly just had praise for it, and that is rare for us. You know that we are, if you've listened to our other episodes, particularly our review of the Horimiya anime, you'll know that we're very critical people.
Some of you might be thinking, we were just being biased towards Yona of the Dawn, and you're a little right.
I think, they're just two completely different beasts. Horimiya is a shonen romantic comedy, while Yona of the Dawn is a shoujo historical drama, I think is probably the best way to describe it.
Agreed.
Some might call it an epic, some might not.
I'd call it pretty epic. Based on size alone.
In this type of genre, I don't think it's my favorite. My favorite has to go to Basara. But Yona is pretty good.
Second place?
Definitely top 10, but there's not that many in 2H. Of shoujo action.
Yeah, I was like, top 10's not saying much.
It's really not.
There might be 10.
There might be only 10.
Mm-hmm. I do just from looking at the cover, you'll think it's some typical reverse harem or something along those lines.
You can definitely tell it's historical just from the cover.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's other historical reverse harems. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but they exist. But yeah, just from looking at the cover, you're probably thinking it's gonna be not really an action, just a typical shoujo romance. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's just some more to the story than kiss kiss fall in love.
That's the other thing, is hearing the description, you might think, oh, a princess with 4 dragons and a thunder beast. This sounds like reverse harem. It's not. There really is, I don't think, any romance really between her and the dragons.
I think there's only one character who falls in love with her, and he kind of gives up.
Yeah, I would argue that Jeha does actually fall for her.
No, he does. He does. He falls in love with her.
Kija, it's unclear whether Kija is just confusing his feelings of dedication to the Crimson Dragon as feelings for Yona. I think that's really what's going on with Kija, but Jeha definitely kind of develops feelings for Yona.
Just compared to the other characters, Kija's not as well developed. That's another criticism I have. He's just kind of there.
I don't think he needs to be.
But it would have been nice if he had something going on. Just something else. It doesn't have to be a tragic backstory. Just a chapter dedicated to him or something.
Well, I'm sure that exists somewhere in there.
In the beginning, when he showed up. But ever since then...
It's true that I think he gets the least attention out of the dragons. And he has the least growth, for sure. He has a little growth. I think
not really.
He does become a little more mature. He's very immature in the beginning. He just kind of lets his feelings rule him. And he doesn't really try to understand other people at all. But as he forms a bond with the other dragons, He does mature a bit.
A little bit, but he's like, his main role is just to be there.
Right. I won't argue with that. He doesn't have much.
I want to go back to comparing this a little bit to Fruits Basket. Do you think a comparison can be drawn there between the two series?
Meaning, like, you think one inspired the other, maybe?
I don't know about inspired, but, like, there are definitely similarities. Do you think someone who enjoyed Fruits Basket would like Yona of the Dawn, or vice versa?
I think so. If you enjoy the... It's definitely... I don't think Yona is dramatic in the same way that Fruits Basket is. Like, Fruits Basket's very soap opera drama.
Yeah, human drama.
Yeah, well, I say soap opera because it's very exaggerated. And people behave in kind of a ridiculous way. And they're entirely emotionally driven. And most characters in Fruits Basket only think about themselves and they don't see the larger picture. Whereas in Yona, I think most of the characters are aware of what's going on in the world. And their decisions are more based on that rather than like selfish decisions. It has lots of drama, but it's not the same type of like
it's a different flavor
level. Yeah, right, it's a different flavor of drama.
If there's any inspiration that like Akatsuki Yona like drew upon, it has to be Basara and like any of the other. I feel like Basara was really similar. The main character loses her family in the beginning. She ends up having to go like around to different parts of her kingdom to like draw support, meet like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would say it's also similar to like Red River and From Far Away. Mm-hmm. Red River is definitely way more R-rated. It has that feel of like young naive girl gets thrown into this situation where she has to grow up and become independent.
For sure.
And learn how to become, worthy of the legend that she represents.
So there are some suggestions if you like Yona of the Dawn and want more series like it.
Definitely recommend Basara. It's easily one of my top 5 manga of all time.
I really like From Far Away. Apparently it's popular. You guys informed me that. I didn't know that it was well known. Red River is too much for me. It went on too long. I couldn't keep up with it. And too much rape. I
stuck with it through most of it. I think I stopped like when it was almost done and I couldn't find any more chapters to read. That's when I stopped.
So that wraps up our discussion on Yona of the Dawn. I hope we convince you to read it or watch it if you hadn't been.
Or now that you know the whole story, if you've listened through this whole episode.
We don't know the whole story. We skipped over like 6 arcs of the manga.
We did.
We highly recommend it if you haven't read it or watched it. Or if you have, we hope you enjoyed going down a long summary and reliving it and remembering why we all love it. And if you don't love it,
get out.
Yeah. You might just have bad taste.
Oh.
I'm sorry. But thank you for listening, and follow us on our social media, which will be plugged at the end probably. And we will catch you next time.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to my thunderstorm in me.
It's the Thunder Beast approving of this message.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Into the Shoujo-Verse. Make sure to follow us on social media to keep up to date on our newest episodes. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Shoujo-Verse, TikTok at The Shoujo-Verse, and YouTube at Into the Shoujo-Verse. Thanks so much.